Hi, my name's Sheehan and today I'd like to talk about Liszt's second piano concerto in A major. I'd like to go through this piece exploring its structure. I do believe that having some understanding of structure can greatly aid our appreciation and enjoyment of classical music. Now, Liszt wrote this originally between 1839 and 1840, but he left it alone for a long time. He came back to it and he made some revisions, and it was eventually premiered in 1857 in Weimar with Liszt's pupil Hans von Bronsart as the solo pianist, with Liszt himself conducting. But then Liszt came back to it again in 1861 to put the final revisions, the final touches to it. And like many of Liszt's works, it's based on a motif or a motto idea which returns time and time again throughout the piece. The concerto is in one long movement, a bit like the first piano concerto, although it's a bit less showy than that. And I guess you could describe it in terms of episodes, really. It's not anything you can describe in sonata form, for instance. It's something you just go through this part, this part, this part, this part, but always listen out for that motto idea coming back in various forms, guises. So the motto theme we hear on the woodwinds right at the beginning of the piece, what I call section A, that sounds like this. So on. Now this first A section just consists of restatements of that motto idea in various instrumental colourings and harmonies, sometimes going rather darker. And we also have this brief tune on the horn which acts as a contrast. We hear the motto one last time as a piano cadenza, and that brings this first section A to a close. Then we're into the next bit, B, and B is like this kind of grumpy march. We hit in D minor now, so we hear this idea in the left hand of the piano. Then we hear this kind of thing over the top. That kind of goes on. After this flurry of piano notes, we come to this transition where the speed quickens, allegro, agitato, assai. And so on. And finally, we get to the new section, section C. We're now in D flat minor, okay? This almost acts like a tutti you hear in a traditional concerto at the end of the exposition, and we hear this idea. And so on. This is really exciting music. We get a section. It's a bit like the classic romantic storm, you know, a bit like Mendelssohn's Hebrides Overture or Wagner's Flying Dutchman Overture. And then eventually the piano comes in again. We hear another snatch of the motto in this brief cadenza, and we get to a transition where everything seems to die down and be a lot gentler. Allegro moderato. And then eventually that takes us to this charming part of the work where over this delicate piano figuration we hear the solo cello playing the motto, like this. very beautiful part of the concerto. And then in this section, which I call section D, and by the way the full description is below, we hear this new tune as well. So listen out for that as a little as a contrast to that motto theme. Section E really is a development of what we've heard so far. First of all, we hear that dotted idea from that kind of march idea near the beginning. We hear hints of the motto throughout this development section. You know, exciting stuff. These melodies and fragments of melodies thrown about the orchestra. And then we get to probably the most famous part of the work. I call this section F. We hear the motto again, this time in this military march like this. In A major, and because it's an A major, it kind of, you get the feeling this is a bit like the feeling you get when we have a recapitulation in a sonata form concerto movement. So and then we hear perhaps akin to that cello solo we heard earlier, we come back to the motto proper, what I call section G. The dynamics a lot quieter. And then we come into the final section of the piece. It's like a thrilling coda. We hear this idea, which reminds me of the magic fire music from Wagner's Valkyrie. It's like that, isn't it? Then that rages away. We hear these thrilling glissandi on the piano, and we come to this wonderful part, stretto at bar 523, which I think we should just listen to. I think it's got such a beautiful chord progression. A, E, G minor, D, F minor, C, kind of diminished F chord. And then that takes us right to the very end of this exciting piano concerto, and a rather novel one as well, you know, just in one movement with these different sections, but always that motto theme, which keeps recurring throughout. If this is your kind of thing, please click like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and if you have any suggestions for pieces you'd like me to look at next, please put them in the comments below. Bye.